Today I'm going to use my brush tool and my vector shapes tool to create a bat that I'm going to turn into a brush, because it's very easy to put lots of bats into an illustration by using a brush to kind of spread them around rather than keep recreating the same vector that you've created. So to get started, I've already got my illustration document started. I've got a few layers. I've got a sky background, some grass, and some trees, and I'm going to add a new layer in my layers panel for the bat. And it's not going to be anything fancy. It's just a simple bat. I've got all my other layers locked so I can't accidentally mess stuff up. I think to create the wings, I'm going to use my pencil tool. I'm also going to make sure that my fill color is set to black so that it stands out against the sky background that I've put in there that's sort of dark and kind of like night type sky. So I'm going to be working, because I'm turning this into a brush, I'm going to work on the clipboard and not put this on my artboard. To get started, first I'm going to draw one wing. Again, nothing fancy. If it didn't put the color in there, I'm going to make sure that I click the fill color. I'm going to option click and drag, which sometimes doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Option click and drag, yay. And I'm just going to use right click and transform to reflect my bat wing and click OK. So I've got the startings of a bat here, but I need a body for my bat. I also want to make sure, not terribly important, but I'm going to use my align tools to align vertically the bottoms of my bat. So now I'm going to use my ellipse tool to create the body. And I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Again, it's like one of those things, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm making ears. This will probably be one of the crudest bats I've ever drawn. Option click and drag to duplicate, I guess, what's going to be an ear. Reflect. Okay, and I'm going to make some eyes that knock out of his body. I'm going to make them a different color so we can just see where they are. It's not going to matter what color they are in the long run because I'm going to knock them out of the body. So I'm going to hold down Option, click and drag, duplicate that, select both pair of eyes, Shift select the body as well, go to Pathfinder and choose minus front. The eyes are in the front, so this is going to just knock them right out of that shape. And then I'm going to Command A to select all of that, make sure my other layers are locked so it shouldn't select anything else. So I'm just going to group that together so I don't accidentally mess it up. You can go to Object menu to choose Group. I did the keyboard shortcut, which is Command G. So now I've got this shape that I'm going to use to create a brush. Just to make things easier in case I want to use this for something else later, I'm going to Option click and drag and just duplicate it. Now I have to make sure my Brushes panel is open. Brushes panel is something you'll find under Window menu, and if you select Brushes, there it is. Sometimes you'll see it in the tabs here. You can click on the tab, you can go to Window menu if you can't find it. And as always, if you're having a hard time finding something, you might want to select Application Frame 2, because that might make the panels that are sort of off the screen pop up. So now I have to use my Brushes panel to create a new brush. So I'm going to go to the little sandwich menu up here, click New Brush. I'm going to make a scatter brush out of my bat. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to name my brush and just call it Bat. I'm going to set the size as random, and I'm going to tweak these because I want some of them to be 100% and I want some of them to be a little bit smaller. I can always readjust these. Like once I use the brush, I can always readjust these if it doesn't look the way I want it to. For spacing, I'm also going to choose random. For scatter, I'm also going to choose random, change the settings a little bit, and rotation, and we'll set that to random too and not mess with it too much. Like I said, I can always go back in and change it. So once I got all those settings put in there, nothing is set in stone. It's going to be, whatever you decide to do, or if you do it and you don't like it, you'll go back in and change the options of the brush. Once you got all those set, click OK. Deselect your bat that you use for your brush, and you should see it show up here in the brushes panel. Like once I've got it put in there, if I hover over that now, it says bat because I created that new brush. So now I can zoom back out, move my artboard, and grab my brush tool. And like I said, it's very important to make sure that you've deselected the bat. Otherwise, if it's selected and you apply the brush to it, it's probably going to apply it to the stroke or to the fill or whatever is selected down here. So make sure that it's deselected before you do anything. So I'm going to grab my brush tool, make sure bat is selected as a brush, and I'm just going to, and this works with pencil tool also, which I'll show you in a second, but if I use my brush and do that, I get a whole bunch of bats. If I think the scatter is too much or the rotation is too much, if I want them in the sky, I might reduce the scatter. To do that, I need to make sure that my brush is selected. I'll go into brush options and scatter. Oh my God, wow, I didn't realize it was that much. Okay, so 269 for scatter might be a little too much. I can put, and as I'm doing this, you can see things change. As I'm doing this, I can also change the scatter. I can just, whatever number I want to put in here, I can put in there, but 96 seems okay. 59 seems better. So once I've got that looking the way I want it to look, I can click OK, and it'll ask me, do I want to apply this to these strokes? So I could leave it the way it was, or I can apply it. And that is how you make a custom brush.